Hello and welcome to Middle East Matters. I'm Hala Mohideen. Coming up in this week's show, the battle for Fallujah has begun. Could this be the turning point Iraq needs? Iran is opening up to the West but cracking down on dissent, with headscarves coming under closer scrutiny. And raising a glass to Arabian pints. It's not as strange as it sounds. We'll have all the latest on the surge in popularity for beer brewed in the region. But first, to Iraq, where government forces have launched a major offensive to recapture Fallujah. Held by the IS group for more than 2 years now, retaking the central Iraqi city is of both strategic and symbolic importance, as Oliver Farry reports.
Iraqi forces began the push against the Islamic State group in Fallujah Monday. A coalition of army, police and mostly Shiite militias took the fight to the jihadists. Iraq's defense minister said victory was not far off.
The operation is going very well, more than expected. The enemy is completely collapsing. Our troop spirits are very high because of their victories, and due to all of that, we think that the Battle of Fallujah will be sealed soon.
F-16 supplied by the United States are also bombing targets in the city. Captured by the Islamic State group in January 2014, Fallujah was the first Iraqi city to fall into the extremists' hands. An estimated 50 to 100,000 people remain in the area, many of them thought to be families of the insurgents. The Iraqi military says it's setting up a safe passage for civilians and called on those who can't escape to raise a white flag above their homes. Following the liberation of Ramadi in December, the town of Hit in April and Rutba last week, Fallujah and Mosul are now the Islamic State group's last remaining strongholds in Iraq. Recapturing Fallujah would have a symbolic and strategic value. The city lies just 50 kilometres from the capital, Baghdad. Few expect an easy fight. Islamic State group militants have dug in deep and built defences since capturing the city more than 2 years ago. Fallujah was also the scene of the bloodiest battle during the US-led Iraqi war. Nearly 100 American troops were killed in 2004 while fighting Sunni insurgents in the city.
Well, the IS group is unleashing terror elsewhere in the Middle East. Nearly 150 people were killed in government-held cities on the Mediterranean coast at the start of the week, with at least 200 injured. IS said the coordinated suicide attacks in the president's heartland were targeting members of Bashar al-Assad's Alawite minority. Now, the investigation into the cause of the Egyptair crash continues apace. Amid partial wreckage retrieval and the automated messages from the doomed plane, there remain more questions than answers at this stage. And until the black boxes are recovered, speculation will continue to swirl. Well, this is the second aviation tragedy to hit Egypt in 7 months. But as Luke Schregel reports, the authorities' reactions couldn't be more different this time around.
A distress signal announced by Egyptair, then denied by the Egyptian army. Wreckage washed ashore in Crete that first did and then didn't come from flight MS-804. Last Thursday, it seemed confusion reigned supreme in Cairo in the wake of the aircraft's disappearance, giving rise to all manner of speculation.
If you analyze the situation properly, the possibility of having a different action or having a terror attack is higher than the possibility of having a technical.
Given near-perfect conditions over the Mediterranean where MS-804 was flying and no indication of any technical problems on board, the theory was plausible. However, no terror group claimed any attack concerning the aircraft. By Sunday, Egypt's president had backpedaled.
All scenarios are possible. So please, it is very important that we do not talk and say there is one specific scenario.
Such contradictions coming so quickly contrast widely with Egypt's official position in November, when a Russian passenger jet blew up over the Sinai desert. The Islamic State group claimed it had placed a bomb on board, but Cairo was having none of it, accusing the foreign media of wanting to scare off tourists. It would take 4 months for Egypt to recognize a matter it saw as highly sensitive for what it was.
This plane crash will cause quite some damage to Egypt's tourism and economy, to France as well. But I also think there is a positive point through this incident. Since the hijacking last time, Egypt's security department has set up an alert mechanism. These recent incidents also let Egyptians themselves realize that Egypt has become a target for attacks.
For a nation in dire financial straits and concerned about its image abroad, that's of major concern. However, should the crash turn out to be the result of an act of terror, it seems likely there'll be some pointed questions over just how security was circumvented and at what point before the jet went down.
Well, to Iran now, where police have arrested 8 female models in a new crackdown on un-Islamic acts. Their crime, posting headscarfless shots on Instagram. Well, their arrests follow the detention of artists, poets and journalists, but also come against the backdrop of that new nuclear deal, which opens up the country to the West. So what's behind this? Well, our international affairs editor, Sanam Chantier, is here to explain in more detail. So, Sanam, tell us more about this crackdown in Iran.
Anna, the operation was called Spider 2, so the second of its kind, and it targeted all things that's been dubbed un-Islamic. Now, 150 beauty salons and photography studios were actually shut down across the Iranian capital. 30 people were prosecuted. As you mentioned, 8 of those detained. Why? Because they posted photographs like this on social media outlets like Instagram, not wearing hijab, showing certain body parts. Now, the arrests, according to the prosecutors, are due to what they're referring to as threats to morality and the foundation of family. And some of their accounts, I think a graphic will come up shortly, have actually been shut down. So there's a caption across that saying that this account has been blocked. And this is exactly what we're seeing here. Now, Hala, at the center of this ongoing debacle, we have none other than, and this might come as a surprise to you, Kim Kardashian, the reality TV star. Now, Iranian prosecutors are accusing her of working with not just Instagram, but certain Persian Gulf nations to target Iranian women to promote un-Islamic behavior. Now, if you put all these conspiracy theories aside, what we're left with is a nation that is indeed the Islamic Republic of Iran. It has been since the 1979 revolution. All women have to wear a scarf, including myself when I go back and forth. But in conflict with that, in contrast, we have a very youthful population. Over 60% are under 30. 46 million of the 80-strong population are using the internet. And I spoke to some Iranians earlier today, and they're saying, actually, we're not seeing much difference. We're not more cautious than we used to be. There is some presence of morality police on the streets, but life essentially goes on.
Well, Sanam, just quickly, what does this mean then for Iran's wider political landscape?
Well, interestingly, Iran's more moderate-leaning President Hassan Rouhani, during his presidential campaign back in 2013, was saying that he wants to preserve citizens' freedoms. And as a result of that, over the 3 years, he's been clashing with the country's hardliners. And he's actually said something like, one cannot take people to heaven through force and a whip. But this is more than just a tussle over what people are wearing. This is Iran's more conservative segment of the government, concerned that they're losing grip at the moment. This is in the aftermath of what you referred to as the historic nuclear deal that they were opposed to, the aftermath of the parliamentary elections in which the reformists made a headway. And this is their way of saying, no, we still have a stand here, we will make a comeback. And this is a continuation of that. Now, I spoke to an Iranian analyst, Ali Vaez from Crisis Group earlier, and this is what he had to say.
I think the one way for the establishment, for the conservatives, to signal to the population and to their rivals that they are in charge, to reassert their authority, is actually to reinforce the morality codes on the street.
Just to put this in context again, all this toing and froing comes ahead of Iran's next presidential elections in 2017. It's both camps trying to strengthen their position, and this time it's just manifesting itself in what we're seeing as a crackdown.
Thanks for that, Sanam. Certainly something we'll keep following for our viewers here on France 24. Sanam Chantier, our international affairs editor. Well, let's finish up with something lighter now. The Czech Republic, Germany, Ireland, all in the top 10 beer-consuming countries. But could they soon be joined by Arabic nations? Well, that's not as strange as it sounds, given the surge in popularity for Arabic beer. Well, even in countries where alcohol is, in theory, forbidden, many still seduced by the world's third most popular drink.
You might not expect the West Bank's arid hills to be the scene of a beer festival. Nevertheless, people here are more than keen to raise a glass.
Good beer, very nice. Palestine. Just this is made in Palestine.
Made in Palestine.
Why not?
I was going to say, that's why.
Just like Bix from Germany.
We're a long way from the lush green of Bavarian forests and Germans' love for the brew. Locals in the Palestinian territories, though, are only too happy to import the spirit of fun, like the festival's Stein-holding contest. All you have to do to win is not spill anything.
It's very good. It's so tired.
The festival's been going from strength to strength, and the West Bank's Christian villages have seen several breweries open. Beerzeit's the most recent, producing some 70,000 bottles in its 3 months of operation, with 10 full-time staff to keep things moving. The boss is a former banker and saw an opportunity ripe for the taking.
Estimates that we can expand next year or after, as we saw that the market is really thirsty for a really quality product, especially Palestinian quality product.
Palestinian and more besides. In fact, the entire Middle East has seen beer consumption increase by 80% since 2007. 2 countries in particular have seen it quadruple. And though Iran and Saudi Arabia are more predisposed to the halal non-alcoholic variant, manufacturers don't even have to change much in terms of marketing. Sex really will sell anything, with young women in abundance touting for a product styled as trendy and urbane.
Making it look like a bottle of beer and the label and everything, because, you know, kids want to drink and look cool and hip and whatever.
It's a winning formula, and not just for men. Local brews with or without alcohol have become increasingly popular with women too, leaving beer ready to pour into a regional market of some 400 million people.
And that's all from the Middle East Matters team for now. Thanks for watching. We'll see you at the same time next week.